Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Insider. I'm Brett Smith, your humble host, the humblest of all hosts. And joining me today is another humble guest, a very special guest, Ann Coulter. Welcome to TPI.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Yes, so happy to have you. The Political Insider published one of your pieces about the ACLU and its president, Nadine Strossen. She recently wrote a book that you described as a full-throated defense of free speech. So this begs the question, what the hell happened to the ACLU and liberals in general? They seem to hate free speech more than anything else.
Oh, yes, they do. They lose when people get free speech, particularly the appealing and the appealing ones. I mean, there are certain hosts on Fox News who are like bulletproof. Nope, he helps us. But who was, I don't know if you paid much attention to it at the time, if you were at all political, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, the biggest thing sweeping young high school men, in particular men, and college students was Milo Yiannopoulos. Mm-hmm. He was, the right wing's Beyonce. They were carrying him onto stage on thrones. And liberal parents in New York would say, my 14-year-old son can't get enough of Milo. So, yeah, of course he gets canceled. Gavin McInnes, who founded Vice, brought skinny jeans to Brooklyn. He was the definition of cool. I think he imagined, because that had been his life up until that point, nobody's going to cancel me. I'm funny. I'm smart. I'm saying clever stuff. No, as soon as his clever stuff was in defense of Western civilization and men, deplatformed every place for no reason whatsoever. They can't win. It's quite noticeable who they're taking off. I mean, who are they going after the most now? I will throw in, to toot my own horn, I am completely shadow banned. That's why I moved to Substack. Yeah. I'm sick of sending out, putting time into tweets, knowing stuff, reading things, posting jokes. And I find, and it used to be before the shadow ban went, I mean, it was more than a shadow ban in 2019. I had been gaining, about 100,000 followers. It has to be more than that. Sorry, I'm doing math in my head. I'm a girl. I can't do math. I'd say about 200,000 followers a year. Yeah. And then suddenly, in the last years, it's sort of geometric the way your Twitter followers go. 2019, I think it was, they just, bam, took away 200,000 followers. And it was 2018, because for the next 4 years, I did not get one new follower. Not one new follower, Brett. And my retweets and likes went from the several thousands to 100. So, unless Elon or somebody else buys it, I'm sorry, I'm on Substack now. I can add to the tweets. I can have a short little thing. I can have a long thing. I love Substack. But to get back to Naomi Strossen and her book, Hate. What was funny about that to me, and I taped it, I think it's a 1-hour video with her to get her to talk about this. I mean, when you get a liberal who supports free speech, you really got something.
Big time.
And what was funny about that is I've debated her several times. You have to be a little nicer when you invite someone onto your podcast. Keep that in mind, Brett. So it was mostly just her talking about her book. It's a very good podcast. It was very popular, and I can say that because it wasn't mostly me. It was mostly her talking about her book. Mm-hmm. But I had always thought from my debates with her, and when she was head of the ACLU, this free speech thing is BS. No liberal believes in free speech. They want to defend pornographers. They want to defend communists. And, what they used to say for my entire life was, but we defended Nazis in Skokie. Well, one thing, I'm against that. They were marching. It wasn't just speech. They were marching in a specifically Jewish area. I say we're moving into the tort of intentional infliction of emotional distress. Pass out your pamphlets. That's speech. I want words, not, jerk-offs marching through an area to enrage people. In any event, that's at least, I will grant you, a close case in the free speech realm. But the thing that offended me the most about it, which I sort of indicated to Nadine in the podcast, was, oh, gee, thanks. Yeah, great. You're helping conservatives by defending Nazis. No, thank you. We're not Nazis. That isn't defending us. But it is true that they have defended, once in a while, they did go after the college speech codes. But the main thing was, the last time I was on a stage with her, it was a Washington Post event. And I was amazed how she 100%, she was researching the book at the time, 100% genuinely believes in free speech, not the BS liberal claims. So I've read the book. It's Hate, and it's something like How to Defeat Hate. I'm very bad at subtitles. How to Defeat Hate with Speech, Not Censorship, I think is the subtitle, but Hate is the title. And I highly, highly recommend it. Not just to liberals, but it's a book that's definitely pitched to liberals. So I really enjoyed that interview. And I indicated subtly during the interview, something I then wrote about in my column, which was that she pitches her book to liberals. So she often will point out, it's sort of a theme throughout the book, that, you guys set up these speech codes. When colleges had speech codes, they kept going after the groups they were supposed to help, the, endangered groups, the oppressed groups, the, what do they call them, marginalized groups.
Right.
And so the point of my column was, yeah, that's true. The marginalized groups in particular are white Americans. White American men to really stick the shiv in, and, gave various examples of that. At least since 1973, when universities have been openly, egregiously discriminating against white Americans. White foreigners, okay, then you get in as an immigrant. Any kind of BIPOC, that is the marginalized group right now. And yes, their speech is being squelched. I refer back to Milo and Gavin McGinn.
This book by Nadine, how's it been received? And has Nadine been excommunicated by the Church of State yet?
No, I don't think she has been, because, I don't know. You'd have to ask her that. But she does have to tread a narrow line, but she's just so obviously correct. Yeah. The book is very, very compelling for any liberal, and I doubt there are a huge number of them listening to your podcast. But look, everybody has liberal friends. Give them this book. If they, actually, most Americans have free speech imbued in them, to be perfectly honest. The main problem with free speech on the horizon are the immigrants coming in who have no tradition of free speech. None. Part of what was, and we discussed this with her in my podcast, part of what shocked me about her book is the ways our sister Anglo-Saxon nations, including the mother country, Great Britain, Canada, and Australia, how they are slapping down. There was, as I mentioned in the podcast with her, there were some shocking ones. One candidate for office in England, home of John Stuart Mill, quoted Winston Churchill about the mass Muslim immigration. There wasn't mass Muslim immigration under Churchill, but what he said was, it was something like, this is the gist of it, I'm not putting it properly, but under the Mohammedan, women are second-class citizens, or however they put it back then. They are not treated as equals. We can't allow that culture to permeate ours.
And so that's untrue. How's that untrue?
Not only how is it untrue, you're quoting Churchill. It's quote.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. Yeah. It's taking a feminist, or I don't call it feminist, I think it's a standard Anglo-Saxon American line about, respect and integrity of women, for women and of women. Yeah. He's quoted this Churchill quote in a speech. This was a candidate for office, so it's also political speech. And he was arrested and said, do not use it again or you're going to prison. There was a church, this one is one I mentioned in the podcast that I got from her book, a church, Christian church, Bible, all that stuff. They put up a sign saying, and this I'm pretty close to accurate, think there's no God? And then on the other side, 2 panels, the other panel is a huge burning fire, and it says, better be sure. That was a violation of England's free speech. So, I mean, when even our fellow Anglo-Saxons are flipping out about speech, can you imagine bringing in people with no tradition of free speech? And I've noticed this all the time. I think Phyllis Schlafly wrote an article about this a few years ago. You think young people are going more liberal? No, young people are going more foreign. Mm-hmm. And when you break out American young people, college students, versus immigrant college students, ask them about the right to bear arms. Ask them about the right to free speech. They don't have our tradition. With us, I mean, with you, even before you started listening to Rush, it's just something, if you are an American and grew up in an American family, it's in the air. You pick them up by osmosis. Our freedom is a very hard thing to get used to, and it is very easy to lose. Thus, immigration is my biggest issue right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that kind of, what's going on with speech over there, the fact that, that quoting Churchill is somehow offensive or a crime? Are there going to be jackboots going around arresting people here at some point, like they're doing in England?
I don't know what the future holds. When I wrote Adios America, I thought there was only a 10% chance of saving our country, and just thought, it's my country. It's worth the 10% shot.
Sure.
The night Trump was elected, I virtually thought it was flipped. We have a 90% chance to save our country now. By the end of the first year, it went to far less than 10% because he didn't keep any of his promises. I don't think, and I'm always kind of joking now about our next president, Ron DeSantis. I should say I don't have a crystal ball. Lots of things can happen. Maybe he doesn't even run. Maybe he stays and gets Florida in shape. Who knows what happens on the Democrat side? So having said all that, that is my one kind of ray of hope right now, imagining Ron, just because, man, he's smart, and man, he has a lot of energy.
But I just think to myself, a lot can happen, yes. Sometimes I think that Ron needs to stick around Florida, finish out his term.
That's the only objection. I disagree. I don't. And by the way, I tend to think, I mean, who knows?
I don't know do you trust Florida without DeSantis?
Yes, thanks to DeSantis. Thanks to DeSantis. It has gone very red thanks to DeSantis. And I believe, I haven't looked at it closely enough, but I'll look at it and get back to you. I believe we have a lot of really good Republicans in the Florida legislature. Mm-hmm. And they've seen what a huge hit DeSantis is. And one other thing that's been really great, Brett, probably the same for Texas, yes. But the media kept going after DeSantis for the no masking rules he had. And I'm a regular watcher of MSNBC every night. I mean, they almost gave up on Trump to start attacking DeSantis. And, they're dropping like flies. They're the same thing with CNN. They're dying all over. Who is this? There was one, I think the Atlantic called him a mass murderer for saying no masks, no shutdowns. Because of that, liberals were terrified to move to Florida. Oh my gosh, they're dropping like flies. And so of the many, many, many people who moved to Florida through COVID, they were breaking 2-to-1 Republican.
Yeah, I think the voter registration out there at this point is they've got, I think, over 100,000 more Republicans registered than they do Democrats. And unfortunately, we don't know
Florida history, by the way.
Well, I'd love to know what's going on in Texas, because Abbott just follows DeSantis basically with whatever he does, and then Ducey follows the two of them. Usually a couple months behind, but he's usually there. But that's the one thing I like about Abbott is he's not afraid to follow DeSantis, and I think DeSantis sets a really great example for all governors out there. Plus, I mean, Abbott's been he had a really good primary challenger out here who kind of kept him on the straight and narrow to a large degree.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that DeSantis is really impressive just from the standpoint of young, intelligent, naval officer. We got somebody who served back again, potentially as a candidate. But more than anything, I'm just so happy that these boomers are aging out of the workforce. I never figured that they were going to pass the baton to us. We're literally going to have to pull it from their cold, dead hands. That's the only way the boomers are going to give up power. It's like two things they can't admit to. It's like getting old and giving up power. It's like never, because they're interlinked in a lot of ways. And I just think that it's going to be a natural transition. Gen X will take over without anybody noticing.
I love your generational thing, and everything you mentioned. The naval officer, you didn't mention this, but beautiful wife, beautiful kids, lots of energy,
great family.
I consider all of that a floor. Great background, terrific. Glad you have a good resume. What I like about DeSantis is he's not a one-hit wonder, but the one-hit wonder is pretty effing amazing. And if he were a one-hit wonder, but it's way beyond this. During COVID, he was reading the science. He was talking to the Great Barrington Declaration guys. I think I had a small dinner with him at a friend's house. I think it was around February 2021. And I said to him, there's this guy I follow on Twitter who does nothing but post the mask statistics and how masks aren't working. So I said, because he was talking about his COVID policy, and oh my gosh, he knows all the numbers. He knows the science. He's read all the science. Ask the scientists what it was like talking to him versus talking to other scientists. But anyway, I say, this guy and I start to, you should follow this guy on Twitter. And he knew the guy's name. I forget what the guy's name is. It's something like Ian Miller. He's a great guy, and you should all follow him on Twitter. But he knew the guy. He's talked to him. He did the right thing. He saved lives in Florida. He saved the economy. He saved all of the children of Florida. I mean, now all these studies coming out. There was one in Israel I posted, and there was another one this week. Masking of kids was sending so much carbon dioxide into their brains. It has stunted their brains. It has stunted their learning. So speaking of generations, 20 years from now, we're going to think all the kids who grew up in Florida, 2020, oh my gosh, they're like superhuman. But he didn't stop with the COVID stuff, the wokeness, the going after the biggest corporation in the state of Florida to raise the issue of transgenders and to get that out of the schools, to pay cops being dissed by their states to come and be a cop in Florida, to stand up to the BLM riders. It isn't one hit. The hits just keep on coming with this guy. This is my advice to young right-wingers, and it's very important advice, and I hope you take it. Especially for girls, I say become a public school teacher. Please do it. Please do it. This is what the left has done for 50 years.
Yeah.
Look at how they took over the Catholic Church, the Boy Scouts, the FBI, the military. I'm sick of listening. I was just arguing with some commenters on my Substack last night who said, because in my column, I ended by recommending young right-wingers. I'm attacking the FBI, and I end by saying, young right-wingers, apply for a job at the FBI. Just put BLM on your resume. You'll get in. And
absolutely.
All these people on commenting on my Substack are saying, oh, there's no hope. They've taken it over. You won't get fired. And I said, yeah, well, if that's your attitude, then all is lost. No, how about Carnegie Foundation, Ford Foundation, founded by these right-wing capitalists now being run by, woke America. No, please apply. And you think they didn't hide their politics to get jobs in the military, in the FBI? You think they went to J. Edgar Hoover and said, I'm woke and I hate America. I want to destroy it and bring it down to its foundations. And the reason I say specifically teachers for women is the culture won't tell you this. Your parents may tell you this, but the odds are, and especially if you want to have a happy life, I'm 1 in a million. Don't do what I say, not what I do. You're going to get married and have kids, and your husband is going to be the bread earner. But it's nice for you to have a job where you have summers off, where you're done at 2. And yes, I know teachers can work hard, but you also get, it's fun. You're around kids. It's a blast. And if we can slowly just move decent Christian conservative women into the public schools, let's take it back the way they took it over. And the same thing with I mean, I'd like to abolish the CIA, but the same thing with the CIA, same thing with the FBI, and same thing with the military. Just don't be sent on one of their stupid wars.
I don't think it's any different than any other institution. You could say Hollywood. You could say, my background in commercial art and advertising and comic books. I mean, I worked for Marvel and DC Comics, and now it's rife with editors who are social justice warriors and woke retards. And I'm glad that I was blacklisted. I was blacklisted after I did Clinton Cash graphic novel from Marvel and DC.
You're kidding.
No, all those editors that I had
by the way.
20 plus years working with stopped answering my calls, stopped answering my emails. Once they saw that I took this medium that they think that they own. And I was able to make a New York Times #1 bestseller and an Amazon #1 bestseller, and get within 4 spots of Harry Potter on Amazon.
You're kidding.
Yeah, with this book that just came out of nowhere.
Yes.
And also, had Marvel and DC writers and artists on it. That was the thing I think that made him mad more than anything, was that I took a bunch of right of center artists and writers that exist in the industry that have also been blacklisted, and we all teamed up to do this hit job on the Clintons. I guess you could maybe call it that.
Tell the truth about the Clintons.
We told the truth. We took Peter's book, which is, and I got his permission to say this, it's boring, it's hard to understand, and it's dry. And we made it fun and exciting and entertaining. And yes, as Oscar Wilde said, the best way to tell the truth is through humor. So, yes, so the idea was to do like a National Lampoon version of Clinton Cash, and that's what the graphic novel was. And I think that you need to infiltrate all of these institutions as conservatives, especially the arts, which has just been ravaged by liberals. Yes. And there's nothing defines lack of creativity more than an echo chamber. And that's exactly what the arts is at this point. So I agree. I think, education, entertainment, media, anything where there is infiltration and subversion, because that's really what it is. This is all ideological subversion. This is Khrushchev telling Nixon back in the day, don't worry about it. We're going to take you down without firing a shot, buddy. And maybe the USSR, we beat the USSR, but in a lot of ways, sometimes I think the commies won. Yeah, because they did it while we were all basically out having a good time and enjoying America, and we didn't even really know what was happening in a lot of ways. So I agree.
Yes.
I think,
in a way, we would have been better off to keep them up and running. I mean, this is a horrible thing to say. So many people under slavery and of communist slavery.
Yeah.
But
as an example,
distracted liberals, they were, what does Mother Russia want us to say? Once they didn't have Mother Russia to defend, it was, let's F over America.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just think to myself, now it's the CCP, growing up for me, it was the Soviet Union and the USSR. And now it's the CCP. It's the same crap, just different actors.
True. I don't think it's as big as wokeness at home as children being indoctrinated into transgenders and everything about America is slavery and how cruel we were for Black people. Well, slavery is very bad, but good grief, this is all we've been taught for the last.
Slavery was so bad, but I dreamed of being like Mike growing up. We all wanted to be like Mike. I mean, Michael Jordan. I mean, that was the remember the Nike ad? Be like Mike. I mean, it's just crazy. Bo Jackson. I mean, these guys were like my sports idols growing up, and they were Black, and I never thought anything about it because we all grew up.
Now we are race obsessed, and that is, I hate when right wingers always have to pitch everything like affirmative action. Well, it's bad for Black people. Yeah, but it's really bad for white people. So I'm not saying that, but as I just described with my book Mugged, it actually is really, really, I mean, the fawning, it is really bad for Black people. And by the way, we should do a coloring book of Mugged.
I agree. I totally agree. Hey, let's switch over to something fun. You reviewed Top Gun Maverick recently on your Substack. And I encourage everyone to go watch the video, watch the review, and then go and see Top Gun Maverick if you haven't seen it. You mentioned attracting macho men in the military in your review, and it made me remember of a stat that I heard bounced around back in '86 or in the late '80s, early '90s, which was that original film in '86, the first Top Gun, sparked Navy recruitment numbers like nobody had ever seen. And I've heard these numbers. Like I said, I can't confirm them, but they say that recruitment went up 200 to 500% after Top Gun.
Oh, I totally believe it.
A buddy of mine I went to high school with, Matt Russell, ended up joining the Navy and became a naval aviator. He flew prowlers during Iraq and Afghanistan. He's even got the mustache. Call sign was Butters. So the call signs are never as cool as the ones in the movie.
Right.
They're actually kind of weird. But anyway. I mean, 200 to 500% increase in recruiting, but that movie had the benefit of having Reagan in office and this huge resurgence in patriotism in the 80s. With this new film, despite it being excellent, do you think it will spike military recruitment like the original? And, how do you attract macho men into the military when you have this geriatric commander-in-chief who's on vacation again, as well as these top brass dorks, these politicians. These generals are just politicians, you know,
Yes.
with all their regalia and everything. But you talk to guys like Terry Shepard or anybody in the military, and they'll tell you, you know, once you get to that general status,
Yep.
or that general level, you are a politician. And I just think to myself, I look at
A
Mattis, I look
sleazy
at
politician, not
well,
just a politician. I mean, technically, DeSantis is a politician. You are a sleazy politician
yeah,
and full of wokeness ideas because you have to be confirmed by the Senate, which
yeah,
means Democrats get a vote too. And they don't care about leadership. They don't care about bravery. They don't
yeah.
care about, do the troops like him? They just want to know, what did you do to promote fat women?
But it's like Lloyd Austin, you know, this guy with his mask and his face shield. I mean, this guy's afraid of a virus with a 98% survivability rate. How does he feel about China? How does he feel about our other adversaries? Is he that terrified of them? So I just think to myself,
he's terrified of the New York Times and the Washington Post and the woke mobs. They are absolute pussies. They are the biggest cowards. You are almost by definition, if you are a general in the United States military, a complete scaredy cat, coward, PC suck up.
yeah.
That's a big problem. And President DeSantis is going to have a lot on his plate. Not sure he can deal with that. Maybe it doesn't matter that we have a useless military, because I'm not really interested in fighting any more foreign wars anyway.
Sure.
So at least, but how you will fix it eventually, I would like to have the wall first.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to have merit hiring every place in the government. I mean, that's one thing that I think is really, really, really important. We need testing for every government job. And having just landed at JFK from London, I particularly want testing for the customs officials. But no, we can't have testing because it'll be discriminatory. We want it to be discriminatory. We want smart people whom we are forced by law to deal with. It's not like, well, I don't think I'll go to that Starbucks because they can never get my coffee together. No, you have to go to customs. You have to go to the DMV. You have to go and deal with an IRS agent, of which there are now 87,000 more. I want testing for every government job. And I don't care if it is transgenders who get most of the jobs. I want them to have high IQs so I don't have to deal with stupidity anymore. Not all of them are stupid, but oh my gosh, a lot are. And you need the physical requirements again. I mean, in order to get, thank you, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in order to get lots of ladies in the military, because, we saw a movie about it. They've had to completely abandon any kind of physical standard.
Yep.
But we do need macho men applying for these jobs. And I mean, just don't get yourself killed before we get better generals in.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Last question. If Republicans win in a massive landslide in November, do you think we're going to see Merrick Garland and Mayorkas and some of these bad actors actually impeached, or, I don't know, brought to heel? Impeached would be ideal.
I am so glad you asked me this. We should have started with this one. Republicans, you're not going to have a massive win. Stop deluding yourselves. My entire life has been listening to right-wingers with their chronic overconfidence. Until Republicans, every Republican up for election talks about nothing but wokeness, immigration, and crime. Nothing but those three things. Oh, and the COVID policies. I'm sorry, 4 things. Drop talking about inflation, you S for brains, morons, listening to the donors and the people out in East Hampton and Palm Beach, and they don't see the crime. And, oh, I love my Hispanic maid. She's so wonderful. And crime? There's no crime in East Hampton. And that's who the moron Republicans are talking to. I've been warning from the beginning, Republicans could blow this. I told my friend Mickey Kaus, who he's a total liberal, down the line liberal. We disagree about everything, but he, like Nadine Strawson, actually caring about free speech. Mickey Kaus actually cares about working class America, and that's why he wants a wall on the border. That's why he wants to get immigration under control. That's why he cares about trade. And then, of course, he'd socialize everything, but he's caring about the working class. But he's been a Democrat his whole life. The first time he ever voted for a Republican was for Trump, for the wall. I keep having to explain to him, Mickey, you're used to being on the winning side. Let me tell you how Republicans are going to run this.
Yeah.
Do not imagine they couldn't blow this. And what I've been predicting all year, oh my gosh, do I see happening right now, Brett? Oh my gosh. They're unbelievable. All they'll talk about is inflation. And as I said to Mickey on our podcast last week, I'm going to be doing a podcast once every 2 weeks, short one, like 30, 45 minutes with Mickey Kaus, because he's a smart liberal, really smart liberal. He was saying he thinks inflation is going to go away and Republicans will have wasted all year talking about something that isn't there. I'm not even as worried about that. I say, you don't need to remind people.
You don't.
They remembered today when they went to buy a carton of milk, when they went to fill up their gas tank. Every Republican, and please send out this clip, if nothing else, to every Republican running for office this year. The first question you ask your opponent is in a debate is, will you now renounce mastectomies for prepubescent girls and poisoning their bodies permanently, leaving them infertile with hormone blockers? Will you renounce that?
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't do it. Let the voters get a load of that. No, they're going to have some complicated story about how the anti-inflation bill actually increases inflation, and people are going to go to the polls and vote for the Democrat. At least it's not Trump. At least they don't have to think about politics. I was talking to a lot of liberals in East Hampton this weekend, and most people, I mean, you know this from knowing other normal people, don't pay attention to politics.
Yeah.
What most people are noticing is, oh, it's not chaos every day with Trump. These liberals I was talking to, some of them have never heard Joe Biden's voice. They just know that every day it's not some new hysterical thing, a tweet that Trump has sent.
Yeah, so I was going to say, it's the absence of mean tweets is really all they say. That's it.
Yes. So present them with the transgender stuff.
And how do they react to that?
Liberals?
Yeah.
No, it was funny. Once I get them on the things I'm talking about.
Do they get it though? Or is it like
100%? But they don't think there's a difference in Republicans and Democrats. Why? Because Republicans aren't talking about it. Yeah. They think, oh no, this is just common sense. You're not talking conservatism, man. We talked about how, well, all of their kids are being discriminated against in college admissions. How about the open, egregious discrimination against white Americans?
Yeah. But the trans thing.
Bad on immigration because they don't see it. But so what? I promise you, there's not an expression, as East Hampton goes, so goes America. No, there are a lot more working class whites and blacks and Hispanics who see the impact of mass third world immigration on their wages, on their hospitals, on their schools. Talk about the crisis at the border. I mean, this is an open invasion.
Yeah.
COVID is over. Except in a few, even in a ridiculous liberal redoubt like LA, they tried to reinstall the mask mandate. There was so much pushback. I went to a fabulous Hollywood Reporter dinner here in New York a few months ago. I think it was like in February. All liberals except me, 100%. It was their media dinner. So it's, the entire MSNBC staff, New York Times, New Yorker, so on and so forth. And I'm talking to people and I said, I left New York because of I wasn't going to wear a mask every place. The restaurants are closed. It sucked. And I said, I want to come back, but what if they reimpose the mask mandate? I'm telling you, Brett, every single one of them said, no way they're bringing the mask mandate. No way they're shutting down the red. No way they're putting in the vaccine requirements again. So a little like inflation, I think people have just moved on. The New York Times can keep having a COVID article every day on the front page. No one cares. Whereas maybe not where you live, maybe not, well, so much actually, thank you. And I mean this literally, thank you, Governor Abbott. New Yorkers are starting to notice the MS-13 guys showing up in Central Park.
I know, I love it. I love it.
I heard about that yesterday.
It's people, some conservatives complain, well, he's only sending 10, he's only sending 20.
Yes, send more, please.
It doesn't matter. It's the fact that he's bringing attention to it and he's putting
tell
them
him to send more.
Well, putting him on the spot. But seriously, I mean, I love watching him sit there and just he has no answer, because this is the sanctuary city. This is New York. This is where everybody's welcome. Yet 10 or 15 dumped on a corner, which is patty cake out here. How about 2,000 come across and the Border
No,
Patrol open up a gate
seriously.
and let them in? That's what happens down here. So
Seriously, Abbott should send a lot of them. It is accomplishing so
it
many
is.
good
It's
things
huge.
in New York. It is waking up people. It is turning, and people, I know Republican donors care about nothing more than getting like minority votes. Okay, minority US citizens, and we got a lot of them in New York.
Yeah.
They're noticing that, wow, a lot of benefits are going to illegals.
He's putting them up at the Standard Hotel.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
It's a nice hotel.
So you got that going for you. You have the utter hypocrisy of this. Oh, we're a sanctuary. We've been welcome. We welcome. Yeah, you don't see how much you welcome them now. It's a crisis. We need federal funding.
Right.
And thirdly, I mean, except for the MS-13 members, it's actually, I think it might improve the demographics of New York.
More diverse.
So you're doing us, it's just win, 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 win. So please have Abbott. Look, if anyone needs to fly them in, that's something that would be useful for GOP donors to fund, to send the illegals over. Among the things on, and I'm always kind of joking about this, all the qualifications, anything can happen, who knows. Among the items on President DeSantis's plate is the word repatriation. Every one of them has got to go back. No, this isn't a game of well, I took territory, haha, can't throw me out now. No, this is absolutely illegitimate for Joe Biden to throw open our border, invite every criminal, terrorist, third world, and even if they're not that, even if they're lovely people, they are driving down American wages. This was not done legally. They're claiming to be refugee. Not one of them is a refugee. That is fraud. Fine, we won't prosecute them, but everyone has got to be repatriated or your country is over.
Absolutely. They've all got to go back. All of them. And what we got 2 million a year at this point coming across?
Yep.
I think that's kind of the average. I mean, this is going to turn out to be almost like the 6 million that Reagan gave amnesty to, only there's probably going to be like 10 that they allow in. And that's not including the gotaways. So, I mean, it's amazing how they're going to change the culture just over the course of 4 years. I mean,
yeah, we're already barely hanging on to an American culture, and not only the ones that Biden brought in. Yeah. No, I want a review of every alleged refugee.
I don't even know why we have immigration right now. I mean, I just shut it down for the next 10 years.
We need a moratorium for a bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Something Trump promised us, but wait, did he fulfill that promise? Oh, no. Yeah, didn't know. Jared, it wasn't on Jared's to-do list.
He went to Jared, Ann. He went to Jared, and that was the problem. So I love saying that. Anyway, sadly, we are out of time. And give everyone your social media coordinates so they know where to find you. And where can they check out Unsafe as well to subscribe?
Please go to anncoulter.unsafe.com. It's really fun. I'll chit chat with you there. It's only $4.99 a month. You get, I think, a month or a week, something free subscription to try it out. A lot of it goes out free anyway. Just subscribe as a free subscriber. And I can put things there. I was saying this to some of my friends in East Hampton this weekend, saying, it's so great because I'm not going to be banned, censored, no ads. And I can say stuff that I'd never say on Twitter. And the entire table looked at me and said, there's stuff you don't say on Twitter.
They're going to have to find out. Well, and at the Political Insider, we've got one of your columns up on our homepage now. People can check that out if they want a taste of Unsafe. But definitely, I encourage everyone to check it out. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it, and we will do this again.
Brett, it was so great to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
I look forward to doing this regularly.
Yes. I'm gonna